Hello, Dale. Very, very welcome. We definitely miss you in Iraqi Kurdistan, Dale. Welcome everybody that are slowly trickling in. Very welcome. Welcome everybody. We're gonna allow a little bit of time for people to join in here. Welcome everybody. We're just gonna give folks just three more minutes before we begin. Welcome everybody. We're just giving folks a couple more minutes. We have some people trickling in late. There's a lot of people coming in, so we'll start in about 2, 3 minutes. So the folks just joining in, we're starting in about 1 or 2 minutes just to give people a little bit more time. But very much welcome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. All right. So we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping while we slowly get started. So this is open to questions. So if during the presentation you have any questions, feel free to write it in the chat and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end of the presentation. So do feel free to do so. Just want to admit a couple people here and then we can get started. Okay, Cameron, I believe you are also ready. Great. So, hello everybody. My name is Julian, and my co-host here is Kamran. We are doing a presentation here as the email and the updates suggested about the civilian impact and some of the updates on the ground between the peace process of the Turkish state and PKK. And as you already know, we work quite closely on the civilian impacts, and so we just wanted to provide some of the on the ground impacts, what's happening, what's not happening, because some of these things aren't necessarily being reported. So we wanted to do this in this webinar style and allow time for questions. So just a little bit about CPT. So CPT has 5 teams around the world. So the team you are seeing right now is the Iraqi Kurdistan team. We also have Palestine team, Colombia team. We have a team in Lesvos, and we have a team that works in Canada and the U.S. Borderlands as well. Our team specifically at the moment works on the impacts of Turkish and Iranian military operations on civilians. And in the chat, you will find I have put the latest reports. So you can click on that link if you want to take a look at that. We also work on civil society. So journalists or activists that are under threat due to their journalism or activism work. Maybe they're targeted by the government due to their work on corruption or freedom of expression. So we may attend court trials. We may advocate for their release. We may advocate for their um, to make sure that they have the rights that they deserve. And with the Turkish operations, we really make an effort to establish strong connections with the villagers, especially near the border areas, but any area that is impacted. And we really pride ourselves on building connections and maintaining those relationships to have the best information possible and also share the stories of those people that have been impacted. So my name is Julian. I've been with the team for about 3 years now, and then I'll let my colleague introduce himself.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Kamaran Osman. I come from Iraqi Kurdistan and I work with CPT Iraqi Kurdistan since 2019. And today we talk about the peace process between Turkey and PKK. Hopefully, we will have an insightful discussion, and also we will have like a part of this webinar would be like a time for hearing your questions and answering your questions. Thanks.
Perfect. So I think we can get started. So I'll share my screen here, and I'll let Kamran get underway. Just give me 1 second. Okay, go ahead, Kamran.
Uh,
So,
yes, thanks, Julian. Can you put it on the first slide?
yeah, 1 second. I want to mute myself. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. As we said, we're going to talk about the Turkish PKK peace process, the current peace process. Because last webinar that we had, it was about the initiative of peace process. We are not going to in deep to the history of the peace process between PKK and Turkey, but we will talk about the current peace process. What is the stage of this peace process and what's happening on the ground in Iraqi Kurdistan? So Kurdistan Workers Party (PKK) first it was established in a university back to 1970s, and then in 1983 they started the first fight with like the first armed conflict with Turkey, and then in 1993 it was a chance for a peace process, but the Turkish president was died in the middle of this peace process. Nobody knows what's the reason behind of his death. Still, it's unremained. It's not clear. But in the beginning of 2000, another round after Öcalan's arrest, another round of peace process started, but it didn't go anywhere. Then in 2008, 2009, with the participation of the international stakeholders and mediators, a peace process started between PKK and Turkey again in Oslo and also in Geneva as well. Fortunately, this peace process also didn't get any result because of not having a good intention in that process. And even in one of the conversations while the mediators were in Kandil, in Iraqi Kurdistan, meeting with Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK), Turkish government conducted an airstrike, and this peace process was over again. And then in 2013, another peace process started. It was between Öcalan in the PKK imprisoned leader in Imrali Island and with Turkish state. That peace process continued for 3 years, but in 2015, this peace process was over again because of Turkey was saying two police officers have been killed in Turkey by PKK affiliated groups. But then also PKK was saying, well, we are talking about peace process. Turkey is manufacturing drones, and they are preparing for another war. So unfortunately, this peace process again after 2015, a difficult time started here in Iraqi Kurdistan and also for the Kurdish people in Turkey because Turkey did a referendum in 2017 and changed the constitution from parliamentary government system. It became a presidential system that the president has a lot of power. They cannot be responsible for the parliament, but they would be elected by the people vote and has a lot of power. And also, the government was formed by like Justice and Development Party, the ruling party, AKP, Erdogan's party, and also the right wing, which is MHP, the Turkish nationalist movement that Devlet Bahçeli is the leader of this group. So Devlet Bahçeli has a lot of experience in being anti-Kurdish case or anti-Kurdish movements in Turkey, and they both formed the government in 2018. And Bahçeli, that MHP, the right-wing nationalist party, they don't have any ministers in the government. The only thing they are responsible in the cabinet is judiciary system, security, and also some bureaucracy in Turkey. So they joined it, they formed the government with Erdogan's party just for having the security power and fighting against the Kurdish movements, which we had seen the results, and I'm talking about in 2017 in December. Turkey started a huge military operations inside Iraqi Kurdistan to eliminate PKK, as they said. And this like military operation continued, and it's ongoing even until now. Turkey, since December 2017, they have built almost 139 military bases and outposts in Iraqi Kurdistan. A lot of people being displaced because of these military operations and this cabinet or this government that AKP, the Justice Development Party, and also Nationalist Party, they found together. And they could they could take control of many areas and invade many areas in Iraqi Kurdistan. But PKK still could not be eliminated because they had a lot of tunnels. They were hiding in the mountains. Because of these military operations, hundreds of people have been killed. Almost 1,000 villages being displaced, either displaced or being under the threat of being completely displaced. We have a map, if Julian can show us.
Yep.
The map is created by our team, CPT Iraqi Kurdistan team. It shows that map. Thank you so much. So this map is showing that how Turkey controlled Iraqi Kurdistan, and the orange area is the occupied area by Turkey that they controlled since 2017. So in the last operation that they launched, it was 2023 in June. Turkey locked the whole border, and the name of the operation was Claw Lock Operation. And the only area could not be controlled, it was Gara Mountain that you can see in the circle. That PKK, it is the only border area that PKK is sharing with Turkey right now. So that area hasn't been controlled yet. And with the regional instability and security instability in the area, both sides, they recognize that there should be a peace process, because Turkey wants to be safe in all the political changes and reshaping the Middle East. They wanted to be safe, and also PKK was very tired of all these military operations and losing a lot of high commanders inside the party, and also not having like fully access to the border, and losing a lot of people, not having a lot of areas in their hand. So what they started a new peace process last year. You can go to the third slide again. Okay. That we are talking about the stages of the peace process. So last year in October, Devlet Bahçeli, the head of Nationalist Movement Party, which is very well known for being anti-Kurdish movement, he went to the parliament. He had a historical speech. It was a huge, many people are defining that as a historical shift in his politics, that he suggested that Öcalan should come to the parliament and announcing the disarming of PKK. Even though he called Öcalan as the terrorist, but still it was a huge shift and change in his politics. And for the first time, he shook hands with the members of parliament, the Kurdish members of parliament, the Green Party, Dem Party, which is a pro-Kurdish party. After that call, it is recognized that call is recognized as the first initiative of this peace process. We don't know what was happening behind the scenes or behind the curtain. For sure, there has to be a lot of like peace talks, between PKK, Kurdistan Workers Party, and Turkey, but we don't know about that. But after this initiative of Devlet Bahçeli, the Kurdish the pro-Kurdish party, Dem Party, they asked for having a meeting with Öcalan in December 2024. They met with Öcalan, and Öcalan said, the Kurdish problem or issue, I can solve it inside Turkey. So it started like this, going to prison by like paying the visit by the Dem Party to Öcalan's prison. It continued for like almost 2 months. Then Öcalan drafted a peace call, which in 2025, in February 27, Öcalan had a call, a peace call, and he officially asked PKK to disarm and like being dissolved, not working anymore, and removing PKK name, everything, and taking their weapons down. Only 3 days after that, or let's say 2 days after that, PKK responded to Öcalan's call, and they announced the unilateral ceasefire. And they said, we have to have a Congress. For this Congress, they asked for having Öcalan physically participating, but it was impossible because Turkey did not agree with that, but they said they can have some access for Öcalan's inside to this Congress. So in that time when like PKK was about to have their peace, like having their Congress, and there were a lot of conversation inside the party, Turkish bombardment is increased a lot. 1 week after Öcalan's call, if you are comparing with 1 week before Öcalan's call, the number of bombardments and attacks increased by 145%. And then in March, the number of attacks became 118 attacks on Iraqi Kurdistan by the Turkish military forces, while PKK already announced the unilateral ceasefire. In April, while PKK was preparing for the Congress, the number of attacks increased again. It became 210 bombardments and military attacks. Then in May, PKK had their Congress. They all decided to they all decided for the dissolution of PKK and disarm PKK and not having PKK exist anymore. While PKK did that in May, the number of attacks increased, and the number of attacks from 210 bombardments, it became 510 attacks, which is a huge escalation in the bombardments, and it increased by 332%, the number of attacks, if you are comparing from between March attacks and also May attacks. Then in June, PKK was preparing themselves for having a disarmament ceremony. The number of attacks increased in that time even more to 550 attacks. So, which is a lot, and it was very concerning. In July, the number of attacks decreased because PKK had a symbolic gesture and ceremony for 30 fighters or armed people. They laid their weapons down, and the number of attacks decreased for 18 when PKK did that. And in August, which we will show in the next slide, the number of attacks decreased again for only 13 attacks. We are in September right now. No attacks has been recorded yet. But in August, while Turkey was still bombing somehow, the number of attacks, as we said, it was 13. And also Turkey announced a peace process commission, and it is established by all the parties that they have participation in the parliament or representatives in parliament. This commission, they haven't made anything yet, but they are in the conversation. So what we can say right now, in this peace process that it started, PKK dissolved themselves, and they had a symbolic gesture disarmament ceremony. So they did these two things, and the third thing is there were some high agents of Turkey or hostages that they were in the hand of PKK since 2017. PKK handed two of them to Turkey in July. One of them was very high agent. Another one, he died because of a disease in 2021, but he gave the body back to Turkey. The PKK did that. And also Turkey started to release some political prisoners that they were in prison for over 25 years. From Turkish side, only some prisoners has been released. And also Öcalan did not have any opportunity to meet with his lawyers, Dem Party, and no one. He didn't have any access, but now he has access to meet with some people. No law has been changed that PKK asked for or Kurdish people asked for. The constitution has not been changed yet. The only practical steps that Turkey has conducted, it was only releasing some prisoners, and also Öcalan can meet with some people. The Devlet Bahçeli's role, the MHP, the Nationalist Party leader, his role is very important in this peace process. And recently he had an interview. He said, peace process is like a bird. One wing is PKK, and they have this wing. The second wing is the other parties and Turkish government. So now only PKK and Öcalan has taken this responsibility. I'm asking the other wing to take responsibility and do their part, then the bird of peace can fly. So it is a huge change in his political direction towards to the Kurdish case. And a lot of people believe that maybe this peace process will get some achievement, because this time the right wing or the Nationalist Party is taking the leadership in that peace process. But on the other hand, there is a lot of doubt about this peace process. Why? Because in one hand, PKK and Turkey, they are taking some steps, like releasing the prisoners, and also having somehow announced unilateral ceasefire by PKK, and also without announcing that Turkey has decreasing their military operation and attacks in Iraqi Kurdistan. And also Öcalan has the access to meet with his lawyers and Dem Party members of parliament. But on the other hand, which is very concerning, Turkey is building new military bases inside Iraqi Kurdistan instead of withdrawing. And also the military bases in the past were just some small military bases. Now the military bases are bigger, and they are being made by the concrete or cement that they are constructing with the Turkish equipment. On the other hand, PKK in the same time, they have taken very huge steps like this, like not having PKK anymore as the name and having a symbolic gesture or ceremony to disarming 30 people. And they said we will continue if we will see some positive signs by Turkey for the peace process. But in the same time, PKK is making a lot of tunnels inside Iraqi Kurdistan. So both parties, they are enjoying the peace process now, but in the same time, they are preparing themselves somehow for the new war. People can see it, and the Turkish drones sometimes are still flying over Iraqi Kurdistan sky, and in the same time, people can hearing PKK equipment is working in the mountain, making the tunnels. So both sides are not trusting each other very well. They both are just taking this opportunity to come back to the war stronger and stronger. And since PKK announced the unilateral ceasefire, PKK hasn't attacked the Turkish military bases at all. But they, as they said in their announcement, we have the right to respond. So 9 times they responded to Turkish military activities. For example, in March, a Turkish drone was taken down by PKK because it was flying over the area. And also, Turkey attacked some bases of PKK in Gara Mountain. In response, PKK used some suicide drone to attack them, but it's only 9 attacks. So if you are comparing PKK military activities in like since the peace process in March started until now, we can say, according to CPT data, Turkey has conducted 1,419 military attacks on Iraqi Kurdistan, while PKK only responded 9 times for these attacks in Iraqi Kurdistan. So it made a huge doubt by people that like people cannot trust the state, cannot trust the Turkish state. While you are talking about peace process, why you have to continue with the bombardment? While you are talking about the peace process, why you have to make new military bases? While you are talking about the peace process, why you are not withdrawing your troops and military bases from Iraqi Kurdistan? On the other hand, people also are concerning about PKK making new tunnels in Iraqi. We understand that the PKK is the reaction of the Turkish government like oppression or racism. But in the same time, while you are engaged with the peace process, why you have to make new tunnels in the area? So the steps of peace process is very slow. Like people people observe it in a way that it's true the number of bombardments since July is decreased, but in the same time, Turkish drones are flying. The number of military bases have been increased. So people are not sure about this peace process, and they have doubt about that. Especially that we have experience as Kurdish people with these peace processes. The 2015 peace process, 2013 to 2015 peace process, a lot of people believe that maybe it will get some result. But in one point, in August 2015, Turkey started bombing Iraqi Kurdistan again and killing a lot of civilians here. In 1993 was the same. 2008 and 9 was the same. But in the same time, a lot of people are optimistic about this peace process because the deep state now is a part of the government. The deep state is taking the leadership of this peace process. But on the other hand, there is another doubt about that the Turkish government is calling this peace process as they are calling this peace process as like the end of terrorism. But PKK is calling as the peace resolution. They are calling in that way. So they are not even agreed on one name for this peace process? How can they be agree on changing the constitution and also making some huge reforms in Turkey? And on the other hand, the Öcalan's call this time is not for the government alone. It is for the Turkish and Kurdish society. It is for the coexistence of Turkish and Kurdish society. The Turkish society has been educated that Kurdish people, there is not any Kurdish people in Turkey. They are not Kurdish. They are the Turkish mountain people. Okay, they have been educated to be racist and nationalist against Kurdish people. But like, how can a government tell people we are making a peace process with people, Kurdish people, that they are not educated, they are not worth it to having even peace talk with? So now this peace process, Öcalan is asking to have it between Kurdish and Turkish society instead of PKK, Kurdistan Democratic Parties, one side, and Turkish government on the other side, because it doesn't go anywhere if it is only between these parties. It should be in the society. And the Turkish society, like, there's a lot of disagreement about that. Like, some people are happy about this peace process, some people are proud about that, and some other people that agree with that, because it's been for over 40 years. This fight is ongoing, and they are going in one cycle. Turkey could not eliminate PKK and defeat them fully, and PKK also could not destroy the government. So they are going in one cycle, and thousands of people have been killed in that war. So people are tired of that. Now they want a peace process. They want something out of that. And also the partisan revolution war in that era doesn't work anymore. It's not like 90s. It is a new era right now. So PKK is rethinking about that, as they mentioned it in their statement. And Öcalan's statement, they clearly said that we want to engage with a democratic political revolution now in Turkey instead of armed solution in Turkey. But both sides has to take some steps to that, and then we can see the result. The very last thing I want to say about how people are in Iraqi Kurdistan dealing with this peace process. So people are happy about this peace process because it's been for decades that they cannot go back to their villages. Over 1,190 villages are impacted in Iraqi Kurdistan. So some people can go back to their villages. They can like re-engage with their livelihood and also harvest their products, doing some farming, tending their animals, going back to their villages, and also living in peace, because you cannot live in a village that 24 hours hearing the sound of bombardment. It's very difficult. So I can say that people from Iraqi Kurdistan, they are very happy about this peace process, but they also have doubt about that. They are not sure that if it will go somewhere, because Turkey is still in the villages. Last month, some villagers from a village in Amedi region in Iraqi Kurdistan, they want to go back to their village, but they were all arrested by Turkish soldiers. After a few hours, they released them and they told them, you are not allowed to go back to the village at all. Some other villages, after the peace process, are allowed to, like the displaced people are allowed to go back, but for certain hours, for 12 hours, to go and do their farming and going back to the places that they have been displaced to. In the evening, they are not allowed to be there. Julian, if you can show the pictures, what has happened to the villages. So these pictures are showing the civilian houses of some villages in Amedi area. Turkey, we have the videos. Turkey deliberately exploded the houses, civilian houses, that no armed people were inside. Not only that, they targeted their infrastructure, the mosque, the monastery, and also the water pipe, the electricity has been targeted. Only last year, over 140 civilian houses have been exploded and targeted by Turkish military forces. Why mosque being targeted? Because it's the community place. Why the school being targeted? Because if you don't have school, if you don't have hospital, if you don't have mosque, you cannot stay there. Even after the peace process, you have to go back. So now the problem is not only Turkey continue with this continuing their military operation, but the problem is rebuilding all this infrastructure is difficult. Nobody is taking responsibility. Nobody has been compensated for that. We have 729 people have been killed or injured since 1991. Nobody has been compensated. Nobody received any support from Iraqi government, KRG, Kurdistan regional government, Turkish government. So people are just left without any support. So what people are asking in Iraqi Kurdistan, when we are meeting with them, they are very happy about the peace process, but they want some compensation for rebuilding their houses, for the infrastructure being rebuilt again. And the Turkish withdrawal, they are asking for that. They have 139 military bases in deepest of almost 40 kilometers in Iraqi Kurdistan. So people want the withdrawal of Turkey while it is not a part of these conversations yet. The withdrawal of Turkey is not a part of the peace talk yet. So I'm stopping here, Julian, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamaran. So we have some questions. Give me 1 second to. So one question we have, Kamran, is what justification did Turkey give for increasing bombardments when PKK was seeking disarmament to pursue a peace process?
It's a great question. Turkey, when they were conducting bombardments in the past, they were always publishing a statement. But since the peace process started, they don't have any. They don't have any statement with that. So we don't know what is their justification. But what we believe as CPT, Gara Mountain, that's the only border that PKK now is sharing with Turkey. So it doesn't matter if this peace process go anywhere. Turkey is targeting this mountain. I have to say, in this 1,000 over 1,400 attacks, there were most of these attacks were on Gara Mountain because Turkey doesn't want to have any share border with PKK. So that they didn't have any justification. But the reason behind that, they wanted to eliminate PKK on Gara Mountain, even if the peace process is happening. To have a military base on Gara Mountain, because Gara Mountain is a strategic place, they can connect Gara Mountain with the military base that is in deep of Iraq in Mosul, that Turkey made it or established during the fight against ISIS. To connect them together and then making the Ottoman Empire land like a controlled area that they had during Ottoman Empire. So still Turkey, like the only reason behind that is having Gara Mountain in their hand, even if the peace process is happening or not happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamran. We have another good question here is what has been the Iraqi government's response to the addition and solidification of Turkish military bases in Iraqi Kurdistan? Is the Iraqi government part of the peace process? What is the Iraqi government's response to the updates you provided?
So Iraqi government the only response for the Turkish military actions and establishment of military bases, the only response was just publishing a statement and saying we are condemning these military operations. They didn't have any like practical action to stop them and having negotiation with them. And also in the last 2 years, Turkey and Iraqi government, they signed an agreement, security and economical agreement together. So somehow they are a part of that, and they are helping Turkey. They helped Turkey in the last military operations last year in 2024. So there is no any response, positive response to stop their military actions, but also helping them because now they are making development road between Iraq and Turkey, which is serving as a strategic economical road. So Turkey is saying for securing this road, we have to have a military base on Gara Mountain that's overseeing this road, and PKK should not be there to protect it and having this road safe. So people are very concerned about that, and we have a law in Iraq to compensate people, the people who were killed or injured. The law is number 20 in 2009 was issued by Iraqi parliament, and that law hasn't been implemented for people to get compensation. And even in the death certificate of people who are died or killed because of the bombardments, they don't write the right cause. Sometimes people are being killed while they were driving. In their death certificate, they just wrote car accident. So not only stopping Turkey from these military operations, but also lying in their death, in the people's death certificate.
Another good question, Kamran, is what is the KRG's, the Kurdish Regional Government's role and opinion about the peace process?
I didn't get the question. Sorry, can you repeat it?
Sorry, what is the Kurdish Regional Government or the KRG's role or and opinion about the peace process?
The KRG government is actively engaging with the peace process, and also like the conversations between Turkey and Rojava, like the Rojava administration, happen with the mediation of Barzani or KRG government. They are involving in this peace process actively. And they clearly said that if this war will not continue in our area, people can go back to their area and it will help the economy. Economically, it's helping people. But on the other side, many people has been arrested, especially in the beginning of this year, because of publishing stuff on social media, anti-Turkish military operation like stuff on social media. So their role, what people are seeing, they are engaging with this peace process and helping with this peace process, especially with the Rojava stuff.
Thank you, Kamran. This is another good question here is, in your opinion, is Turkey's long-term goal to actually change the border so that they can acquire the territory they are now occupying with their military bases in Iraqi Kurdistan?
Definitely, it is not only a military action to eliminate PKK, but it's also invasion of land, and also it's cultural assimilation as well. They want even people to be prepared if this area would be reshaped and being belonged to Turkey in the future. How? So when Turkey is building a military base, they will establish they will put a telecommunication tower as well to interact with the Kurdish telecommunication network. When you are arriving these areas that the Turkish bases are there, you will receive a message and saying goodbye from Iraq, welcome to Turkey. And also, they are also impacting the Kurdish media signal. In some villages, people, they don't have access for the Kurdish media. They only have access for the Turkish media, and the new generation that they are born after 2017, they can speak Turkish better than Kurdish because of Turkish drama, Turkish songs, all of the stuff that the Turkish media is publishing. And they definitely want to reshape the area and even preparing people culturally and society culturally to be a part of the Turkish society in the future.
You talked about it a little bit already, but maybe can you give a general can you give like a general overview on how people in Iraqi Kurdistan, the general population, feel about the peace process? You talked a little bit already, like some people are optimistic, some people aren't. Can you give like the general overview again?
People are very happy in Iraqi Kurdistan about this peace process, but in the same time, seeing a movement for 40 years, over 40 years, fighting against a government to get rights, to get full Kurdish rights, but now they are being disarmed and taking their weapons down. It was sad for many people. Like people were publishing on social media, they were speaking on media, they were sad about that. So, a lot of people, but in the same time, the core of disarmament is achieving Kurdish rights in Turkey. And this trust has not been built yet. Turkey hasn't taken any practical step to make some changes and reform in the law and also constitution. So it made people to be pessimistic about this peace process. But in generally, if this peace process will go anywhere, people here in Iraqi Kurdistan, they are very happy, especially the people who are living on the border.
And just for everyone to know, I put links to our latest reports, and also BBC made a very good documentary that CPT our team helped our team helped in, and it gives a very good in-depth view of what the situation is for many people in the border area or places near Turkish military bases. So the link is in the chat. Another good question here is, can you give, so with the 139 military bases, are they all in one area? Are they spread out? What, generally speaking, like how do those military bases look like in terms of
Uh,
location?
so, Julian, if you will put the map again on the screen, I can explain how the military bases are divided.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So you can see the orange spot or area in Sidakan in the right in the northeast of Iraq. You can see it. So that area was taken in 2017 to 2018, and it's Erbil Governorate. It is exactly in the triangle border between Iran, Iraq, Turkey. So Turkey has over 16 military bases there. But then in 2019 and 2020, in 2020, they expanded their military operation to the northwest more. So these other military bases are all divided in the northwest, the rest of the military bases, and they are all connected together with a military road. So all the Turkish military bases are located in Erbil and also in Duhok Governorate. In Suli area, we don't have any Turkish military bases. Like the Turkish military bases are located in Batifa district, in Duhok Governorate, in Amedi district, in Duhok Governorate, in Zakho district, in Duhok Governorate, and also in Sidakan and Mergasor district in Erbil Governorate. But mostly Turkish military bases are located in Amedi region in Duhok Governorate.
Okay. How is the current situation for like refugee camps in Sinjar in terms of the peace process and like Mahmur camp and so on and so forth?
I should say the Sinjar situation in terms of the Turkish military operations is very good right now. This year, there is no any military attack, especially after the peace process. There is no any, even one single attack on Sinjar area, which is a very good sign. But to Mahmur camp, there is no bombardment on Mahmur camp, but Turkey is putting pressure on Iraqi government to have a lot of restriction for the Mahmur refugee camp. So people from Mahmur camp, they cannot even get out from the camp to work, to do anything. Even some women who are pregnant, when they are going to hospital, they have to have a special permission to go. And some people, because they could not get their permission, they died on the way to go to hospital. So Turkish government, they put pressure on KRG government to put pressure on or to have some restriction to Mahmur refugee camp, and KRG already did after 2019. But Iraqi government was more open to Mahmur refugee camp. But now also Iraqi government put a lot of restriction on Mahmur refugee camp. People cannot get out from the camp, and even a diplomatic delegation from the camp went to Iraqi government to talk about that situation. They all got arrested. They were in prison for 2 months. So the pressure on Mahmud refugee camp right now is through the Iraqi government.
And for those people that don't know, Mahmur camp is uh, Kurdish people from southeastern Turkey who were forcibly displaced by Turkish operations in Turkey in the 90s, and then they got displaced to Iraqi Kurdistan. Another good question here, Kamran, is what is what is like in our conversations with US and like certain European countries, are people pushing back against our governments? Like, curious, like, what is the from our from our work? What is the opinion of European and Western governments on Turkish operations and our advocacy?
It's, it is very unfortunate that like all members of NATO, they are either supporting Turkey or they just choose to be silent towards what Turkey is doing here. We should not forget that the Turkish drones are nothing without the Canadian and German companies providing all this support or equipment to the Turkish drones. Even though some of these governments they have decided to have limitation on providing this kind of like equipment for the Turkish drones, and also U.S. government providing F-16 and some military equipment. Uh, they are not even also very interested to talk about the Turkish military operations here, because we all know that there are some interest between Turkish government and also the Turkish government and also the European and American government. There's a lot of interest between them, and for now, they are okay with Turkish military operations. But maybe in one point when they don't have interest together anymore, maybe they will use all of these cases to use it against Turkey. So to be honest, when we are meeting with them, they are concerned about civilian people are being killed, and they are sad about that. Even sometimes they are trying to do some advocacy through the consulates. We are doing that, but generally in the government's policy has not been changed a lot in what they are doing, but we continue to do our advocacy with the Canadian government. We did it in 2018. They used the case of Iraqi Kurdistan and also Armenia that Turkish drones have been used. So they decided to stop sending weapons to Turkey. Then Now they are trying to have to sell weapons to Turkey, but having limitation on that. And some other governments are the same as well. But we as CPT, we continue to do advocacy and ask all of these governments to not sell weapons to Turkey anymore to kill people on the border. And even if they are selling, there should be a lot of limitation on that.
Yes, thank you so much, Kamran. I think that's the majority of the questions. I'm not seeing any popping up in the chat right now. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. We hope that this was very informative for people on what the situation looks like on the ground in Iraqi Kurdistan, especially for civilians. Please feel free to contact us by email at any time. We're usually very responsive. I put the reports in the chat if you have any question, if you want to take a look at some of the stuff that Kamran was speaking about. And yes, so thank you everybody for taking the time. And this webinar was recorded, so we will post it to the website. So I know the last time we did this, people weren't wanting to share that, and maybe some people couldn't join today. So it will be available online. So thank you so much for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of this webinar and listening.
And we're getting a lot of appreciation. So thanks to everyone sharing their appreciation with us. We really appreciate it.